I'm very pleased to have Backyard Bullion with me here today, all the way from the UK.
You know, you've got other people out there who do similar things with ripples and, you know, hi-ho silver, and I'm not trying to, you know, copy him and copy his work and his niche, because his stuff is just phenomenal in its own right, and it does things that I can't even think about doing. But what I think I can do is get these really minute, tiny ripples and very fine ripples on my pieces, which look quite nice and quite good, I think.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being inspired by a great artist out there as well. I mean, it's you know, there's definitely things that inspire my wife. There's things that inspire other pourers out there. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if we start copying the exact product and the exact style of a channel and all that, it's a little bit different. But that's not happening. Everybody's keeping their own style behind it. They're finding their own ways to get their product out there and keep it their own. And fantastic. We've got such a great supportive community that we can learn from each other, and we're willing to support. I see people all the time that really are kind of competing against each other because you're all trying to sell silver, but they're sharing ideas. Because
that's an amazing thing about this community. Like, yeah, I've had a few problems in the past trying to get a specific effect or pour, and I've just asked people, and they've been more than happy to talk it out. You know, I think ultimately, like, there's enough people out there who love silver and who love hand-poured silver that we're not there to compete with each other. Like, if we can get the whole brand of a hand-poured silver, you know, silver tube and silver poured like that, if we can get that brand bigger generally, that only benefits everybody. Like, if it becomes more mainstream, then all of us that are there right now making this stuff, and all the new people coming in and making stuff, people who are getting inspired by watching Mr. Zeke and other people, then that's just great.
Yep.
And even from this time last year when I was starting out, there's so many new people pouring, and I see new pourers every week nearly on social media, and it's just amazing to see. And I've had a few people who've, you know, directly cited me as their inspiration, which is a really weird thing for me to think about. Like, I'm, you know, literally this time last year I was the one that sat there watching these videos not doing anything, and to have somebody now having a hobby that they love because of the stuff that I've done is amazing. So
it's fantastic. It must feel really good, and it feels good that you've helped somebody you know, get involved in a passion that they love too, right?
Yeah.
So with the stuff you make and the you know, you use silver shot now, that tends to be how you do it. You're buying that because of obviously the smart business decision and the advantage of the European Union. Over in North America here, it's a little bit different. We do get taxed on shot, but we don't get taxed on bullion in general, but you do. Yeah, so that's another thing, everybody out there, to keep that in mind, is that Europe in general, there's taxes on this product. So even if it's a poured bar, you know, something that's it can be a hexagon, it can be a 3D image, they're going to pay taxes on that. Now, an ACEZ mark. And the ACEZ mark is something extremely unique. It's something I just think you should be very proud that you've obtained. It's something that really sets you apart from a lot of the other pourers out there in the community. And this wasn't just because you wanted to have it, or you know, you wanted to set yourself apart. It's a great thing to do that, but it really came out of necessity of what you need to do over in England. So for the viewers out there, again, yes, there's the taxes, but anything that isn't basically a poured bar must be have an ACEZ mark. Otherwise, you need to sell it as white metal, I believe. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it just stems back to, you know, history, where manufacturers of silver and gold products in the UK and you know other Western European countries have similar situations with hallmarking, but the UK was the biggest manufacturer, and there were a lot of times where people would just make something and say it was silver, but it wasn't, and people would buy it and then find out it wasn't. So the country in general just decided to have this testing process, this mark that people could put on it, so that when you sell it, you know that it is real, you know that somebody's not trying to con you, and you can look it up and you can find out who's made it, when it was made, and all of those types of things. So it's the law over here that you can't. And it's you know, very weird way of explaining it, but basically it's about how you sell it. If you sell it specifically as silver when it's not been assayed as silver, then technically you can't You can't. You get fined basically for doing that. There are a lot of exceptions. There's a lot of sort of loopholes. Like you said, you can sell it as white metal. Everybody knows that it's silver, but you're not using the word silver, so you're not breaking any kind of regulations. Or if it's a very small piece, you don't need to hallmark it at all. Or if it's just considered bullion, so just basically scrap bullion, and that's a very loose term, open to interpretation. And a lot of people over here in the UK think that pretty much anything that's hand poured is basically just bullion, because it's just raw bullion form metals. But then there's the whole argument of, well, when does something become a piece of art? When does something look more than just bullion? And if you've got a 3D piece perhaps that's been molded, or if you've you've made a shape that's a heart and could be used as jewelry or something, there's all of these different interpretations. So when I started, I was selling this all just basically as bullion, and reading into the letter of the law, going, well, it's just raw bullion that I've shaped into something slightly different. But then having that ACEZ mark just is a peace of mind for me as a business owner, that I'm making these things and I'm never going to get in trouble because I'm doing everything above board. But also, when I thought about it, it made a lot of sense to have those marks on there, because the people who are buying these things know for certain that it's 999 silver. Now, I know the community is all very trusting, and it's a very good community like that, but there are people out there that sell stuff which is not 999 silver, and I've featured a few of them on my channel that I've had a few people send in, and I think it's just a really nice brand, and I think it works for me selling them, but it also works for people who've bought my stuff who then want to sell them themselves later on, say in a couple of years.
Well, I think it's the security that you're providing behind that purchase. I think that's the thing that it's great to have it on there, but what does this provide apart from the sales side? Down the road, if these people need to sell it or want to sell it or whatever the issue may be, they have that guaranteed stamp of approval from an assayer company that this is true pure silver.
So I think a good example is here in the UK, if you wanted to take a lump of 999 silver unhallmarked into a like we buy any gold and silver shop on the high street, they would take one look at it and go, well, it might be silver, who knows. I'll tell you what, I'll give you like 50% of spot price for it, because I'm taking a risk on it. I have to do my tests on it, and I have to pay money to do tests and all of that. So you maybe be lucky to get that kind of margin. However, if it's hallmarked, you go in there and say, look, it's hallmarked, it's 999 silver already, and they'll be more than happy to give you quite a fair market rate for basic 999 silver prices. So it really helps people at the other end. If there was a situation where they had to sell something, they wouldn't necessarily have to wait and sell it online to a private collector or something. They would just be able to take it down to any kind of bullion dealer or shop or anywhere and just say, look, it's hallmarked, there you go.
Yep. You've got a certificate of authenticity stamped on every one of your pieces, and I think that's fantastic for security and peace of mind for the investments that they're making, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's very good, and as you said right at the start, I think it's a really nice thing to think about, that in like 100 years' time, when we're all dead and gone, that hallmark will still be there. And if one of these pieces is found in somebody's sock drawer and somebody looks it up, goes to the Edinburgh office site and looks it up, they'll see that it was Backyard Bullion. It was made by me, and that's kind of cool.
You've immortalized yourself, friend.
Yeah.
you will be forever remembered by this. It's pretty exciting, and I think that we've talked about this before in our personal chats, but and I've mentioned it on when I featured some of the products on the channel. But I think that it's really unique and a great thing that you've done with that, and you did it out of necessity, but it's become something that's really set yourself aside, and that's another thing too. In the last couple of years of building your business, you haven't just sat back and hoped it's going to grow. You've really made an effort to take those next steps, every idea that comes along, to try and pursue it and grow your business, and not just well, maybe I'll do that. You've really done a lot to develop that, and you should be very proud of what you've done over the last couple of years. I think it's very exciting, and I'm just sitting here watching you grow. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's good. If anyone out there is wanting to do the same kind of things, and like you said earlier in the video, if you follow your passions and you can turn your passion into any kind of bill-paying endeavor, then it is just so worthwhile and so fulfilling. But it's hard work. Like, it's nice to think that I've got to where I am from a bit of luck, and maybe people like what I say and do and how I do it. But behind the scenes, you put a lot of work into it, and I put a lot of work into it, and I think that's part of my brand and part of my USP. That when somebody wants to get something from me, I'll put heart and soul into it, and I'll make sure it's done properly.
100%. I think that's very evident in the products. We talked about the mirror bars. We talked about the packaging. What you throw in the package, the brochures, everything that's very professional, very quality, very put together image, and again, like, hard work out there. So people that want to grow their business, whether it's this type of business or anything else, if you want to be successful, you're going to do it by going after those passions, going after those ideas, trying them out, being smart about your financial purchases and stuff like that, obviously, as well. Sounds like your wife has done a lot to kind of help with that as well, sourcing out items a little bit cheaper, but all of that helps, right? All the couple dollars here and there, you add that up over the years, and that really, that can be the difference between being able to repair your furnace and not repairing your furnace, right? So,
well, when we finished the 1 gram silver foreign bars project, I did a little tot up of all of the funny numbers that were involved with it, and I think we worked out that we'd use something like 60,000 square centimeters of brown paper, 40 meters of brown wrapping tape, and numerous other things, and that all adds up, as you said, and it's
of all that you do. I mean, the silver, you've got your ACEZ mark on there. You've got there's the, obviously, you make your silver, you pour it, you put it in the mold, you stamp it, you shine it. What is your favorite part of the process?
I think my favorite part of the whole thing is when I get a piece of feedback from somebody who's bought something. Like, I love making everything, but I guess that's, the reason I do it is it's just so fulfilling when somebody says, "That's really awesome, I like that, thank you." It doesn't even have to be a big piece of feedback, just a thank you, and that's really cool. If I had to pick something though from the actual manufacturing process, I'm always fascinated by not being able to replicate something. So when I pour it, every piece is different, and you're never going to get two which are identical. But there are some pieces that I've made, like the heart, which I always feature on my intro, the perfect heart with this absolute dead center ripples, and it just is amazing. I have never been able to replicate that. But when something comes out of the crucible and pours in, and it just turns perfect, that makes me feel quite happy. And it's like,
nice. And
so it's those 1 in like 100 pours that come out, and you just know straight away when you've looked at it, you go, yeah, I've nailed it, that one's good, I'm happy with that. And a lot of my pouring video compilations that I do, there's no sound on them, there's just nice music in the background. Some of the videos that I've got in the raw files, I'll pour it and you'll just hear me in the background going, oh yeah, that's a good one, I like that. Obviously that's all quietened down for the pouring videos, but yeah, there are some that don't come out quite so well though, and there are some expletives that come out